Hello and welcome to the Daily Space for today, Tuesday, November 5th, 2019. I'm your host, Dr. Pamela Gay, and I am here to put science in your brain. Most Mondays through Fridays, either I or my co host Annie Wilson will be here bringing you a quick rundown of all that is new in space and astronomy. Now, the slow news week continues. So, we're going to take advantage of this slow time to once again take a deeper examination of a single news story. And yeah, that's all I've got is a single news story. And we're going to talk about it a lot. In this case, we're looking at the Voyager 2 story of its journey out of our solar system. And in this particular case, this is a story that began right here so many decades ago and led to 5 new papers coming out yesterday. Yesterday, we got news that 1 year after Voyager 2 had left our solar system, these papers are being published, one paper for each of the 5 instruments that is still working on Voyager 2. These particular instruments were chosen to continue receiving power and heat because of their ability to study the magnetic fields, plasma, and high energy particles that are diagnostic of the different parts of the outer solar system. And not just our outer solar system, but that actually let us figure out if we've entered the galaxy beyond. Voyager 2, as its name implies, is the second Voyager mission to accomplish a variety of tasks, but not all tasks. It launched in August 1977 and was the second mission to visit both Jupiter and Saturn. And now it becomes the second Voyager to exit the solar system. But oddly, due to the nature of orbital mechanics, it actually launched roughly 2 weeks before Voyager 1. As essentially the younger sibling, Voyager 2's job has been to confirm what Voyager 1 has already seen, and when it comes to exiting the solar system, we had to wait 6 long years for it to find its way past the protection of the sun. Trying to identify the edge of our solar system is complicated by our sun's changing nature. We define the edge as that place where the sun's wind and magnetic field are no longer forming a protective barrier. And a barrier from what? This was what scientists hoped Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 would figure out. So the catch is our sun's sphere of influence changes, and it changes with the sun's activity over an 11-year cycle. A more active sun can push out farther and influence a larger volume of, space, while a less active sun lets the coldness of space get a little bit closer in. While Voyager 1 and 2 both made trips to Jupiter and Saturn, their paths actually split off at Saturn. Voyager 1, it wanted to get a really good view of Titan, and to do this, it dove actually underneath Saturn's pole. And that change in course took it straight out of the solar system and precluded it being able to visit other worlds, such as Neptune and Uranus, which Voyager 2 did fly out to view. This change in path is what led to these 2 missions having such different exploration times. When the exploration ended and the run towards the edge of the solar system began for Voyager 1, it made a quick escape. Voyager 2, after it continued to Uranus and Neptune, then began its delayed mission. And overall, these 2 different courses led to a 6-year difference in when the missions made it out. Now, throughout the 2000s, there was press release after press release about how this Voyager or that Voyager had entered or not entered the outer regions of our solar system that make up the boundary between our solar system and interstellar space. Specifically, we awkwardly name everything We awkwardly named these regions the heliosheath and the heliopause. The heliosheath is where the solar wind is bent into a sphere as it interacts with the interstellar wind. So, as our solar wind hits the interstellar space, it bends, creating this shell around us. The heliopause is where the sun stops. It pauses, effectively blocking charged particles from the outer universe. It is the crossing of the heliopause that marks the mission's final exit from our solar system. And for Voyager 1, that exit came in 2012 and was marked by an increase in plasma, an increase in cosmic rays, and unexpectedly, the magnetic field didn't change as much as we thought. Now, since this was essentially a flyby with measurements being made as the spacecraft flew through the heliopause, well, they couldn't exactly repeat the measurements, and scientists would have to wait until Voyager 2 caught up to see if it would detect the same things as Voyager 1. And last year, when Voyager 2, 1 year ago yesterday, made its way out of the solar system, it replicated Voyager 1's results to a great degree. In this week's issue of the journal Nature Astronomy, 5 separate stories highlight the science of 5 separate instruments. Now, I know I should call them journal articles, but when your science describes the adventures of a spacecraft leaving our solar system, the word story just makes more sense. These articles collectively highlight how, at a distance of 119 astronomical units, or 119 times the distance from the Earth to the Sun, Voyager 2 found itself in a region of space that had a very different temperature, plasma density, and incidence of energetic particles. But the magnetic field of our solar system merged smoothly into the surrounding space, which is something no one ever expected. The transition from in our solar system to outside of it took roughly 1 day. And in that time, the mission saw low energy ions from the sun drop in number, while the high energy cosmic rays from external sources increased in number. At the same time, the plasma density radically increased to approximately what was seen by Voyager 1, matching those results. And this was more plasma and hotter plasma than had been expected. Humankind has now sent 4 spacecraft out of our solar system. And while Pioneer 10 and 11 went silent in 2003 and 1995, both Voyager 1 and 2 continue to function and send us back data as we leave them behind in the galaxy. These missions are early 1970s technology, kind of like me. And like Generation X, they continue to just get their job done while sometimes getting lost between the history-making Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo missions and the social media stars of the modern day. We don't know how much longer these missions will work. Remarkably, they seem to still be capable of course corrections and so much more. It just takes someone to notice them and ask. Children of the 70s, we see you out there doing your science. We see all 5 journal articles of your science, and it is awesome, if a bit dry and particle-filled. And here's to hoping that those 1970s missions keep doing science for maybe a few more decades to come. And that's our deep dive into the Voyager missions for today. And I will now take your questions. While you type them in, I'm going to remind you, please put your questions with the purple circle emote with the purple star in the center. Those will help me find them in the chat. While you type those in, I'm going to remind you, the Daily Space comes to you most Mondays through Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern, that's 10 a.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. London time. We are produced by Susie Murph, and we are a product of the Planetary Science Institute. a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to exploring this solar system and beyond. We are here thanks to you. We are able to pay Susie and Annie because of your bits. And this month, during the month of November, we are running a fundraising campaign to raise money to pay for our servers. Our servers are what we use to host our citizen science projects, to host the DailySpace podcast, and so much more. We can't do our jobs without those servers. So if you want to help us feed Annie and Susie, well, that's what bits are for. But if you want to help fund our servers, that's what the donations are for. And I see that Tad Awesome has used his Amazon Prime to give us a sub. Thank you so much. That really helps. And that's all I've got. So I'm now going to take a look and see what questions you have for me to answer. All right. Veronica asks, did you explain the picture? The picture's mostly there to be pretty. Thank you, Broken Symmetry, for the bits. Oh, Eddie heard, and I have the dog treats out of reach. I'm going to have to stand up and get the dog treats, aren't I? I'm going to do that awkwardly, and I will be back to answer your question, Veronica. In brief, the picture... excuse me while I reach past my camera. The picture shows the sphere of influence, or in this case, the tail of influence of our sun, and the respective positions of Voyager 1 and 2 to that sphere of influence of the sun, which is in blue. So let me grab treats. Do you know what I have? Nope, come over here. Nope, you're on the wrong side. Come over here. Come on, up. Good boy. Good boy. So, for those of you who are new, the best way we know to say thank you is with a dose of cuteness. And our local cuteness comes from Eddie, who is indeed a treat hoover, who treats you to dog slobber ASMR. He is indeed a fabulous floof and a wiggle butt. I know, Eddie. I know. He is now staring at me. Raj Luthra, I'm afraid there will be no Voyager 3 and 4. The New Horizons mission will be the next mission to exit our solar system. But we don't currently have anything else planned to fly out in that direction. This is our new reality. Now, as we discussed yesterday, there are works to understand what it would take to go out and commission a mission that went into orbit around Pluto. But we don't have anything else planned at all right now. Okay, let's see what other questions that hopefully are more cheerful that we have in here. I see Broken Symmetry commenting at the top about how many tripods there are to bump into. Yes, there are currently both a tripod for the camera and teleprompter. I have no shame. I admit I use a teleprompter, and there's also a tripod for a light that I use when I'm streaming on my personal Twitch stream. And cords. Oh my goodness. The cords are the actual danger. After I'm done streaming, I'll take a photo of everything that's going on here to share out on Twitter. There are so many cords. So many cords. Yes, Larry, my personal Star Strider emotes do include fancy boots. They're actually modeled after. I have a pair of Doc Marten heels, and yeah, they're kind of my boots. Um, you guys are awesome. Okay, so Larry asks, did I read correctly that Voyager discovered a 50,000-degree interstellar plasma? Yes, this is true. So what this means is the individual particles have a energy profile and velocity profile consistent with being 50,000 degrees. Now, this doesn't mean that Voyager is getting heated to 50,000 degrees, because there just aren't enough particles to transfer that amount of energy to the spacecraft and heat it up. So it's still a fairly diffuse plasma. It's just in its diffusion a very hot plasma. And we can't really explain why it's so hot. This is one of those things where as soon as you get actual data, you realize that some of the things you assumed wrong. Looking for other questions. Veronica asks, did I explain the slide? So sort of, kind of, maybe. So basically, the sun, as it moves through our galaxy, pushes against the interstellar medium in the direction in which it's traveling, which is the direction that the Voyagers escaped in. And it trails behind it like a comet in some ways, the shape of its magnetic field and how it interacts with the interstellar space. The heliosphere is that sphere that you see. That's the sphere of protection provided by our sun's magnetic field. And the heliopause is that boundary layer. And there is a sheath of material within that boundary layer where things begin to transition from the way the inner part of the solar system works with this solar wind pushing outwards. But when you hit that heliosheath, that outward radiating solar wind gets buffeted by the interstellar media and bends at a right angle, creating this change in direction of the solar wind that creates this boundary layer, the heliosheath. Get past that, and you're out of the solar system. It's just a cool picture, mostly. It's just a cool picture. Let's see what else is in here. Henny asks, are we currently in an arm or empty area? We're currently in an arm of the galaxy. Yeah, Arinstra is completely right that temperature does mean something very different when you're dealing with so few particles that you can start to count individual, and sometimes even they name particles, sometimes name individual particles as they're detected. So we're simply looking at what quantum state are they in and how fast are they moving. And hello, Bill Nash. Bill is another streamer with the Knowledge Fellowship. He does amazing photography out in the Las Vegas area and periodically goes out to Joshua Tree with his telescope. So if you just want like a shiny, pretty, awesome stream that periodically will teach you cool stuff about astrophotography or just regular photography, check out Bill Nash. Hanny says space is kind of like an open oven. The temp can be high, but the hot particles are too diffuse. I still think that I wouldn't want to be in my oven, and I'd be less worried about the hot particles in the just outside of the solar system. And thank you for the follow, Interstellar Matt. Thank you. Larry asks, did you see the new paper that the universe is a closed curve again? No, I haven't. I'll have to go looking for that after the show. That's cool. So Bill is working on figuring out how to stream from his telescope. That is awesome. Oh, sorry, Raj. I didn't mean to miss your question. Raj asked, how many astronomical units is the solar system boundary? So the boundary itself is only about 1.5 astronomical units wide, and it's at a distance, depending on how active the sun is. It's at a distance of roughly 120 astronomical units. It's sometimes a little closer in, sometimes a little bit further out. Our solar system actually expands and contracts with the sun's solar cycle. If you have a more active sun, it blasts further out, clearing a larger heliosphere. When the sun's less active, it essentially inhales and you end up with a smaller solar system. Any other questions? I have to admit, it's cold today and I want to go sit in front of a space heater. I should have turned the heat on down here, but normally our basement's pretty warm because the boiler is the next room over. My studio is in the basement, for those of you who did not know. But any more questions? Orange Joe says, I remember the first Voyager to cross into... Thank you, Trucker Kev. Sorry, I'll get back to your question in a moment. I have a dog. I have a dog. Do you want this? There. You're so cute. You're so cute. Here, come closer. There you go. No, I don't have more. I don't. He would like more, please. So Arnstra was asking, I remember the first Voyager to cross into interstellar space had people going back and forth for years as to whether or not it had crossed. Did the second do the same sort of thing? To a degree, yes. But the going back and forth is in part due to the fact that, from what I understand, the helios sheath moved back and forth a couple of times, taunting the spacecraft. But when they saw the cosmic ray count go up, it definitively determined for both missions that they had left the solar system. So the entering the helios sheath was a little bit squirrely, but the exiting the solar system was a cleaner measurement. So our Raj Luther asks, what are your thoughts on W first? That we should finish building it. For those of you who don't know, W first is being built on top of existing hardware. It turned out that the military had a couple of space telescopes they just weren't using. These are Hubble Space Telescope class spacecraft that were given for free to people who could use them. In this case, NASA took one of them and said, why, yes, please, we will take that and we will turn it into a space telescope. We will launch it after putting instruments on it. And this is what will be the W First mission, which is being designed with instrumentation that will measure the positions of a myriad of galaxies and other objects, measure their brightnesses all very, very accurately towards the purpose of trying to better, map out how the universe is expanding and better understand dark energy. Now, there is a bit of political squabbling about this poor telescope. Trump has said he wants it canceled. Congress has said they want it funded, and they control the purse strings, so they have continued to fund it. But there have been issues with things like the mission scientists can't really go and present what they're doing and stuff like that. So it's having a hard go of it, but it's science that in the decadal study, we said we need this as a field. We agree. We need W first. Give us W first. So frustrated at how this became such a controversial mission. So Bill Nash asks, do your dogs have a Pavlovian response to you merely sitting in that chair? No, the Pavlovian response comes purely to the noise that is generated when bits come in. So they hear the Streamlabs noises and they're like, oh my goodness. This has caused problems when I'm listening to other people's streams. So I need to remember to use headphones. So Hanny asks, are we near Alpha Centauri's heliosheath? No, nowhere near it. It's oh man. I know that it will take Voyager 18,000 years to travel 1 light year. And Alpha Centauri is like 3.5 light years away. So yeah, a long way away from it. Yeah, so the Oort cloud is just confusing, Larry. It would be indeed beyond the protective barrier of the sun. So if there is an Oort cloud gravitationally held to our solar system, it's getting blasted by cosmic rays. But gravity doesn't care if you're within or without the heliopause. It's going to hold on to things anyways. Gravity's nice that way. So Raj asks, will scientists ever find out a more accurate age of the universe? I suspect they will. We're just currently in an awkward phase of realizing that 2 different sets of ways of measuring the universe don't add up. And I think the problem is that we don't really understand what dark energy is. Once we get a better handle on dark energy, which is why we need W first, a lot of these things should become easier. So Ben Kenobi does describe gravitational force very well when he says it surrounds us, penetrates us, and binds the universe together. Gravity is indeed, Hanny, very dependable. And that's really all I've got for today. I saw that Oh Bother is streaming, so I suspect that we will give him a raid, and I need to get my butt upstairs and get back to working on writing grants. Things to be aware of. Tomorrow, tomorrow Annie will be doing the Wednesday rocket update. Thursday, I will be back coming to you from a remote location. I'm going to be attending a conference Thursday and Friday. Friday, I'm going to be handing things over to Annie so I can participate in a discussion. Then next week, we are still starting next week. I will be at a different conference next week, and I need to go look at the conference schedule and sort out time zones and things confusing like that. If you are in the San Francisco area, there may be a ninja meetup. I'm still, like I said, sorting my schedule. Back-to-back meetings on 2 different coasts do have my brain slightly broken. But that's all I've got for today. One more time, if you want to see us be able to keep our servers for another year, please consider a donation. They're tax deductible. We're allowed by law. Anyways, my name's Dr. Pamela Gay. This has been the Daily Space. We are here to put science in your brain. We are produced by Susie Murph, and we are a production of the Planetary Science Institute, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to exploring this solar system and beyond, which is kind of like the Voyager missions, maybe. If you would like to see us continue, please consider giving. The best way that you can support us is over on patreon.com/CosmoQuestX. If you support us there, we can also send you show notes, updates on what's going on, and basically get you more content. We are here because of you, and we're so grateful for everything that you've done to support us. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And wherever you are in the world, have a fabulous morning, evening, or afternoon. And I will see you on the other side. Bye-bye.